Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka Podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. This is our anime podcast, where every 2 weeks we watch an anime, something we picked out, something we wanted to watch. We watch it, and then we come to this podcast and we talk about it. We like to think of ourselves as a book club that watches Japanese cartoons instead. It's better anyway. And my name is Troy, and I will be your host for tonight. We watched the anime Bahamut. Nope, but I can say that word now. I've been practicing. Rage of the Bahamut Genesis, which is a older anime, 2014, I believe, but the sequel of that is out right now, Virgin Soul, and I've heard only good things about that. So Jeremy picked this, and it's a great one. So let me introduce my co-host to help me talk about this anime. First off, we have the Mind Flayer in the deepest level of Kazakagua. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'll take that any day. I want to be Cthulhu. Yes.
What you been up to?
I've been playing a ton of XCOM 2. I modded this, and I've got over 200 mods on it now. Yay for mods, Troy. You'll hate it, but it's amazing when it doesn't crash.
We could just record you saying this and play it every podcast.
I know.
I think you said almost the exact same thing last time.
Well, more mods now. Okay, I have a really cool setup. The way I've got it set up right now is I decided instead of having just a handful of character classes, I would actually have as many as I could find that are compatible with Long War 2. So I have around 25 or 30 classes, and I have it set to randomly pick. So I've turned off the ability to actually go and select. And the Guerrilla Tactics School only allows you to select from a group of 3. So it's like playing Heroes of the Storm Brawl. When you promote your soldier for the first time, if you do it through the Guerrilla Tactics School, you have to only choose from 3 randomly selected. It's amazing.
Jeremy,
it creates emergence.
Not even Jason cares, and he's playing the same game. Look at him.
I gotta put this in real quick. I asked Jeremy the other day, like, he said, "Oh, I lost my first soldier," and like when I lose soldiers, it's due to I've reloaded the same mission probably 8 to 10 times, and I just cannot beat it without losing someone. He's like, "Oh no, if I make a terrible decision, I just go with it." I was like,
yeah.
I can't play. I can't put that much dedication into it.
Oh, it's so great. It's so great. I have one soldier down, and the reason that this was just so amazing for me is because this soldier got a nickname right before they died, on the mission before they died. And you know what the nickname was?
Red shirt?
Saint.
Oh.
Saint. They died a saint. They're the only soldier that's dead, and they have the nickname Saint. It's amazing.
Please tell me you have this written down.
Oh, I have everything written down. Dare I show my notes?
No, that's not. I need to introduce our other host. He is the kobold to the entrance of a salt mine. Jason, how are you?
And at least I'm not an undead skeleton.
That's true.
I'm like second, third level. Write that down. I've also been playing a ton of XCOM 2. I only went with about 30 mods because of less crashing and less weird freeze where you're coming back from a mission and it shows the underside of the Avenger and then it just sits there.
That's not mod related, actually.
It's exacerbated by mods. Anyways.
Exacerbated a little bit. Yeah, it's in the vanilla game too.
What is
I actually have only had it one time
right now.
Hey, you asked me what I was doing. So yeah, that's and also these fine gentlemen are refining my skills with Heroes of the Storm.
And you will be the proper meat shield that I demand you to be.
With the higher MMR, I'm sure.
I love the Cho'Gall Oriole brokenness right now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. We don't talk of that because we don't need other people doing that. I felt so bad. I felt like we cheated a little bit when we ran that. Okay.
It was a great cheat, though.
So I've been playing a game that's not XCOM. I played Tales of the Borderlands, the Telltale games. Most of the Telltale games don't really grab me as much. I'm trying like the Game of Thrones one. just not as good. But that Tales from the Borderland one reminds me how good the Borderlands universe is for just silliness and how funny it is. And the story was really well done. I really recommend someone playing it if you like narrative games.
Speaking of Borderlands, I heard that you bought it, and I was excited because I own Borderlands 2. And then you said you got it for console, and then I was sad again.
And I don't know why you wouldn't have assumed that was the case in the first place.
Well, I would assume people would want accuracy when they're playing first-person shooters, so they use mouse.
It's Borderland. The bullets are statistical.
Do headshots even matter in Borderlands?
Oh, yeah, so much.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Critical damage.
Not in Destiny.
No, really?
Okay, we've bickered about the video games that we don't like sharing with each other. Play this game. I don't care. My game's better. That was an impression of me, by the way.
Yeah. I love you do impressions of yourself very well.
So let's talk about the anime Rage of Bahamut Genesis. Jeremy, you picked this, so let's start with our non-spoiler review. So if people haven't watched it, they can come to a decision based on what we say. So Jeremy, what did you think?
I really like it. I love the direction that they took the story. I thought I knew where everything was going from the beginning just based on the interactions that some of the characters had. But I got surprised here and there, surprised by consistency that I kept expecting to break certain characters' behaviors. And they didn't break for, like, ever. So without giving any spoilers, that's where I'll stop there. But I love the art. I love the interactions. The characters are I thought, so well done. This is a really good anime. I recommend it.
Jason, what did you think?
It was fun. Definitely worth a watch. Super tropey, and I'll let you get into that a little deeper. But the character interactions are gold. Definitely worth a watch for that. A lot of funny moments. A lot of not too many like heart tender moments, but they're kind of sprinkled in there. So, but yeah, I really like it.
I almost 100% agree with Jason in my review. It was pretty fun to watch. The character interactions are really good, and I think the animation was really pretty in this one. Some of the big battles were really flashy. Some of the CG didn't work, but that's kind of what you're going for when you grab the CG. This is the second anime we've seen that was produced by Universal. Had the big Universal logo show up at the beginning. You guys remember what the other one was? Was it Tanya the Evil?
I don't remember.
No.
It might have been Tanya the Evil. And I just feel like they're putting money into their production, at least in this anime. So I thought it was really pretty to look at. The tropey thing got to me a little bit. I felt like we were watching a best of generic fantasy story a lot of the times. And I'm probably going to argue with Jeremy a little bit about the getting surprised by it, because I kind of felt like I knew where this was going from the start. And one of my big things was when I was watching it, I was like, if I sat someone down and told them this was Final Fantasy, the anime, or Dungeons and Dragons, the anime, they wouldn't say anything. They'd be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because, the angels, the demons, the dragons, the knights, the pluckish rogue, sure, that all makes sense. And so what I think in the end is it didn't identify itself. It didn't create its own identity enough. I kept comparing it to Drifters. That thought kept going through my head. Like, man, I remember watching Drifters with all these fantasy elements and just feeling like this world is so its own. And I didn't get that here. I mean, they took a lot of different mythologies and mixed them together, but it was still fun to watch. They took all those tropes and they did them well. There was just nothing I felt really unique about it. So that's how I felt. So with that, let's go ahead and get into our spoiler section. So from here on out, we will be doing plot details. We're doing character details, theorizing about stuff. This is where we get into the nitty gritty, and we hope that you latch on to something that you want to talk about too and start a discussion. But for that, just know, spoiler warning from here on out. Okay, guys. So this episode starts with a dragon whose name I couldn't pronounce before 2 weeks ago.
Which is weird because you played the most Final Fantasies out of all of us.
Yeah. Not only could I not pronounce it, I spelled it wrong too, which is probably the reason. I had the U and the second A mixed up, and that's why I pronounced it wrong. I was pronouncing it like I wrote it.
So how many times did you summon Bahamut?
Bahamut, yeah. I summoned him a lot, all the time.
I love that.
Yeah, but it is Bahamut.
Yep.
This anime starts with a big battle between him and we kind of learn more details about what's actually happening. But for all we see is magic users and little dragons and demons and angels, and they're all fighting this one giant dragon. I didn't put this in the show notes. What did you guys think of Bahamut? Is he just a big force of nature? Does he have a purpose? Is he even a character on the show? Or is he just kind of there?
I was actually pondering that. Is he an alien from another world that came here to destroy it? Was he born here? Did he just pop into existence? None of those questions are addressed, and neither are they important for this story, because he's more of a table figure piece.
He's the figurative end of the world.
Right, but he's literally a statue the entire anime, except for the first and last episodes. So
when he moves, I literally turn to someone and you think he'd have a cramp standing there.
Magic, man, magic.
Yeah.
Just stretch it out. Oh, man.
Yeah. So
Right.
I disagree a little bit just because they did give a little bit more information. They said this was cyclical. They said Bahamut has destroyed the world before, and they weren't just talking about that initial time where they imprisoned him.
Right.
At least that's not the impression I got. I got the impression that this happens every so many thousand years. So I kind of think of Bahamut in the same way that I think of the Reapers from Mass Effect, right? Where it's a force of nature from our perspective that comes in and for some reason governs this cyclical recycling of this world.
Reapers have explanation from where they came from. They have a culture. They have a background. You say cyclical, but it's you could say that about what was I just thinking of? He doesn't seem to have a purpose here. So he destroys the world, everyone dies. And then supposedly life somehow comes about, another 1,000 years passes, and then he destroys everything again. What's he doing in between there?
Well, that's what I mean, though, is this is something where we're getting it from the perspective of the people, and the people have not held any kind of discourse with Bahamut because he doesn't want to talk. So I wasn't comparing the minutia of how the Reapers exist and what their story is, just the nature of how they would come every so many thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years and then exterminate everything, and then just as everything gets recycled and new generations come up, they would come back and do it again. I see Bahamut doing the same thing where I don't know why he does it, but I get the impression that there's this cyclical nature where he comes in, destroys, new things grow up.
From where?
Destroys. They don't tell us from where. They just tell us that's what he does.
He's literally beyond God and the devil.
Yeah.
'Cause it takes God and the devil teaming up to stall. Because like what you said, they say he comes back over and over. And the last time he showed up, they managed to stall it for the past 2,000 years. That they're on they're on borrowed time at this point because he's supposed to have destroyed the world by now.
Yeah. There is one thing that might explain a little bit about from where, and that is the fact that Bahamut's I keep wanting to call him Bahamut now.
It's catchy.
Bahamut's barb is found in this other dimension, and it seems to have the ability to rend space and time, like a dimension. So if Bahamut's spine, when separated from him, has the ability to cut space and time, he could come from anywhere, anytime, maybe he's attacking at all these different times in our linear history at the same time for him. I mean, there's numerous possibilities of what could be going on. He could be a mindless beast. There could be a purpose. They don't go into that. I agree that he's kind of a set piece for that reason. I just disagree with him being without any interesting story. I think that there is some interesting story. They just gave us the tiniest hints and tidbits of it.
Right, but I guess from the viewpoint of the story that we're presented with, he is just a anti-MacGuffin. He's just the end game of this world. That's just a ticking clock. He's just a representative.
He's the Alduin.
He's the world eater. That's right.
After this,
bring it back to a good game.
I like how Troy just skips right over that. We're not going to talk about it. I'm not even going to entertain that.
Alduin's a name we don't say on this podcast.
I don't even know who that is. Now you have to wonder if I'm joking. The anime starts proper with a really cool chase sequence between two bounty hunters, and they're both our main characters, and they ride on horseback through the roofs of the city. Then they go on this giant wheel that breaks, and they have to dance on top of it. Kind of remember like a Pirates of the Caribbean fight sequence back when it was good. And this is when I first thought to myself, this animation is really cool. This actually looks really good. There's a scene where Favreau, our main character, turns around, shoots his revolver crossbow, which, okay, that's a pretty cool.
That thing's awesome.
Weapon. That thing's cool.
That screams Final Fantasy.
If I was building a character in this setting, that is one of the things I would want to have.
Yeah, but when he turns and fires it and the arrows go flying at the camera, that was a really cool intro sequence. But we're introduced to our two main characters, so let's go ahead and talk about them. We have Favreau Leon. Jeremy, your favorite character, so I'll let you start with him.
I absolutely love Favreau. He is a fantastic character. I know you described him as a plucky rogue, and I would agree with that, but I would say he's even darker than a plucky rogue because he is so selfish that the entire time he is trying to get away. He's trying to get out of things, and there's just like this sliver of something in him that is allowing himself to be pulled by one force or another. You know, we see it with the horse when she's being attacked after he takes a bunch of money to let her be attacked. We see it at her, as in a character we'll describe soon. We see it later when she's going to leave and he doesn't want to go with her in all these different times. And yet somehow he always gets forced to go. She always pulls him with her. And there's always something forcing him. It's great. So for me, he stands out as an anti-hero because he is trying not to be a part of this story. It's as if you were a GM. I know I'm bringing it back to RPGs again, but if you were a GM and you had a player that was always trying to go off of your map, that's Favreau. He's always saying, I don't want the MacGuffin. I don't want to be here. I just want to go back to being a bounty hunter. Leave me alone. Okay, and I love that.
Before we go to Jason, I want to ask a question because I actually thought you were going to come at it from the other angle because I agree with everything you're saying. The only problem I had is if I felt like the story was kept trying to tell me, but no, don't worry, this guy has a heart of gold, and I'm like, that is not what I am seeing. But even at the end, he's like, I wanted to help you the whole time.
I totally think it was a lie. That's why his face changed again right before they kissed.
I feel like the anime was trying to be like, no, don't worry, guys, he's the hero. I felt like we were presented with two different characters, and I really like the one you just described. I think that guy was, and actually that's the reason, one of the best parts about this anime.
Yeah.
The other one that they kept trying to pretend he was, I felt was very contrasting to that, and that was his biggest weakness as a character to me.
Now, you guys both watched the dubbed version, right?
English dub. Yes.
I watched the sub version. I never got the impression, even once, that he wanted to help. Ever.
I literally came to this podcast thinking I was going to have to argue. Look at all the times he said he didn't want to help. He literally turned her in.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yep.
But now I'm trying to think of times when the anime was trying to pull me the other way because that was the impression I was getting. Jason, what about you? What did you think of him? What impression did you get?
I see both your guys' points, and I think somewhere around episode 7, his actions started to betray his desires. He was no longer, he had so many different opportunities to cut out and not go rescue somebody, not go help somebody, not go bail someone out. He had so many different opportunities to leave, and all of a sudden he felt this responsibility to Amare. And I think because he stopped doing dark, anti-hero actions somewhere around episode 6. He was no longer trying to kill her to get out of his contract. He was no longer messing with Favreau to piss him off. He was
the Kaiser.
Kaiser.
You haven't mixed up.
Yes, I know. I do. I know. I will for this whole time. And there was a moment later in the episode where he literally joins the bad guys, but he does it for what ends up in the end being a heroic deed.
He got shot in the heart to bring him back. Remember, the guy put an antidote on it because he was no longer fighting. He was no longer aware of it. He had fully given in. The guy had to shoot him with the antidote.
Right, but the whole reason, I'm going to join the bad guys, but that was a ploy to get to attack the bad guys. That was his intentions.
That's what fight. I think that's completely left up to interpretation.
No,
it is. It's established that he's a liar from the very beginning.
He literally attacks him. He attacks the guy and gets caught, punched in the stomach, and the guy forces the elixir into his throat.
What elixir? What are you talking about?
The thing that turned him into a demon. We're talking about when he turns into a demon, right?
Are you kidding me? I saw nothing about that. When he got freed, all of a sudden, the next shot I saw, he was a demon. Was there like an
he attacked he attacks the bad guy. He goes for a sneak attack, and the bad guy punches him in the stomach and is like, of course I knew you were going to do that. And
really?
And forces the elixir on
I did not see that part.
Yeah. And Jason just reminded me of the scene that I was thinking of, what really was like, don't worry, guys, this is our hero. When he destroys his bounty hunter gym. That is his livelihood. That is his favorite thing to do in the world. That is everything to him. And he destroyed it to go save these people that he pretends he didn't care about.
So I agree and disagree with both of you in the fact that I think he's a fairly complex character, but he turns more hero than anti-hero near the end, especially when he's willing to risk his life to not only just, spoiler, but there was just time after time after time where he did not have to go after Amare.
Well, how's he going to get his tail removed, though?
It felt, okay, again, interpretation. It felt once they were in the castle, he had come to the conclusion that it was not coming off.
I think I can accept that he changed as a character. That is kind of the only thing that makes sense to me, because he did make that super self-sacrifice to get to that castle to save them. And his actions were more heroic. I was actually surprised at the end when he wasn't like literally making the choice to go along with her. He's like, hey, get rid of this tail, I'm going to go. And then she's like, no, come on. And he's like, all right. And I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like he's really being pulled as much as he's pretending he is at this point.
Well, okay. I think that we should lay out on the table the fact that he was not only suffering from having the tail, but he was also suffering from having these nightmares about Bahamut and what would happen. He had been drawn into this issue with Bahamut, and he was aware of, just personally seeing what Bahamut was going to do to the world. So I think that if you combine those things with the fact that, knowing that the demons and the angels or the gods were now aware of him and paying attention to him and everything that was going on, being swept up into the middle of it, I think that he didn't see a way that he could escape and actually live. Because if he knew that this is what's going to happen to the world, then it's like you have to grit your teeth and you just have to go, because you're always looking for a way out. But you know that if you leave right now, you're dead, because the world's going to be destroyed. So you know that you have to do something. Remember that there was a point where Joan of Arc was talking about the person who was on the statue of Bahamut, and she said, yeah, that's the holy knight that's going to come in. That's fate. Now, what happens if you struggle against fate all your life, right? You develop this anti-hero persona that he had, but in the end, there was something that was stronger than him pulling him toward it. So I see it as a struggle from the moment that we see him, and probably well before that, where, yeah, he's got a few good qualities here and there, like his relationship with Kaiser. I think Azazel was telling the truth. I think he hit it right on the spot where he was giving Kaiser a reason to live. But I also see that in everything that he got an opportunity for, he would always try to escape, always try to cause problems if he knew there was a way that he could and would actually get profit from it. But if there was no profit to be made or survival, what's the point?
I agree with that mostly, but I still think I agree with Jason that he becomes more hero at the end in the second half.
So just for clarity's sake, you guys see him as becoming more heroic. Is that altruistic heroism, wanting to help, or is that futile heroism, as in it really doesn't matter what else I do? I don't
think he's trying to save the world. I think he's trying to take care of people he cares about. I do think he actually cares about Amara and Kaiser. And
I totally agree with that.
That's why he's willing to give up his bounty hunter gem to save them.
Now, he got another bounty hunter gem at the end of the show, so I wonder if he knew that he could get Bacchus to give him another one. So I don't see that as a huge loss.
He says he's going to do something else.
But then he didn't.
I don't know. He sure didn't act like it.
Nope.
I mean, at that point, you'd have to be guessing and hoping that you're interpreting things right?
Gambling, yeah.
Let's go on to Kaiser.
Okay.
Jason, what did you think of Kaiser? I'll let you start this one.
He was kind of boring, but also the necessary antagonist to Favreau.
Straight man.
Is more than straight man though. He was this ball of want to be revenge, but never could commit. He had he talk about selfish, nepotistic crybaby that could not get over or look past any sort of reasoning for the things that were happening in his life. And it just made him very one-dimensional.
His dad was murdered in front of him. I mean,
no, his dad was hung in front of him, and he blamed
potato.
He blamed it on Favreau,
the son of the thief who robbed his father to get him hung.
Yeah,
right. But
is there ever a definitive story of what went down there and whose fault it is? Did Favreau play a part in getting his dad killed? Or
I don't think so. I think it was all Azazel. He manufactured that whole thing. The two kids weren't even involved.
So we do know that Kaiser told Favreau that his father was going to be guarding it. So Favreau knew. The question of whether he said anything, I agree with Jason. I don't think Favreau said anything. I think Azazel was taking advantage of everything there. But Favreau, I think, realized that Kaiser's his depression was going to be too much.
Right.
And so he had to kind of be that guy.
I kept waiting for a scene of Favreau admitting how he felt about what had went down.
I was waiting for that too.
I kept waiting for him to say, like, you know, I didn't tell my dad, or I told my dad not to rob you guys, or, you know, that's what my dad did, and your dad needed to not be such a guard. Something of how his viewpoint on that series of events, because no matter how you look at it, his dad did rob that guy's dad and get him killed. Even if a demon was pulling the strings in the background and that pirate captain, you know, were behind it, it was still Favreau's father who, you know, how he feels about him, I don't know, but it still has that tie to it. And I thought actually when he went demon, he was going to be like, by the way, I've been keeping you alive, and I, you know, knew the whole time something. But I felt like that was a little bit of a missed opportunity.
And because of that, I felt he was fairly one-dimensional. I also did not like that he got a mechanical hand at the end, because it, just like with the bracelet at the end for Favreau, both sacrifices felt empty.
Okay. I can see your point. I kind of like were the mechanical arms in Full Metal Alchemist, like, did that make the sacrifice empty?
Sacrifice.
That's a completely
that is not equal.
Okay. What I'm saying is, when you have magic, and magic can animate things, I can see him creating and having a magical mechanical hand, but that doesn't mean he's got his hand back.
To me, it was very similar to the end of Ajin for you guys, where Sato did not die.
Right.
I don't know though. I can't see that because Sato dying was like this was a premise for 2 entire seasons that if you cut a head off, you're gonna be dead, and then this guy comes back to life and everything's perfect.
Let's not dive too down the far that, but I believe it's a misinterpretation by both of you guys, in my opinion.
The entire epilogue is a hand wave of everything's fine now. Yeah. Look, Favreau's living his dreams again. He was hanging from a dragon thousands of feet in the sky.
Also, there was a severe lack of main character deaths.
I agree with that. I wanted Favreau to die.
There was very little actual sacrifice when it came to the characters. Like, so many of them were saved by Deus Ex Machina. Like, Favreau got pushed off a flying piece of rock.
Kaiser. Again.
Kaiser.
Call him Hammerhead. That's what they call him in the show.
And he was literally able to grab Favreau's grappling hook off
him
of...
slide, and then he's like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Let's get to that. Jeremy, your thoughts on Kaiser? Real quick.
I kind of agree with both of you to a degree. I agree that I would call him a straight man. I think Kaiser, he had a lot of, he didn't have a surety that Favreau was responsible. And because they had that youth of growing up together and sparring and being buddies, it wasn't something that he could just commit to and say, I'm going to kill you. It was something where he was always hoping that Favreau would tell him, no, I didn't do it. But what happens if Favreau tells him that? Well, he's probably going to walk away because the only thing left with Favreau is bad memories and no opportunity for revenge. So I think that the whole situation there was so that they'd have a reason to still hang out and still do what they always did. But other than that, I think Kaiser was the... I think Kaiser was the lawful stupid almost character that we always hear about, and the person who is the most noble, the most altruistic, and the most handsome. I mean, eyelashes, man, and little.
But he didn't have Favreau's lips, man. My kids walked into this anime. What is with everyone's beautiful lips?
Right,
beautiful lips. What do you want?
Yep. So yeah, I agree. I don't know if I agree completely that he was one-dimensional, but not very many, not 3.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his interactions with Favreau, like when they're fighting with silverware and stuff.
Oh yeah.
When they actually were not trying to kill each other, they got better. I did like seeing them play off each other, but for the most part, I felt like he was generic chivalrous knight character in Fantasy Story. Mm-hmm. So now these two guys, back to the story. They come across some bandits, and then these bandits come across a young woman later who falls onto their wagon, and we are introduced properly to Amara, who is the female protagonist of the story, and also kind of the MacGuffin. We find out she's a half angel, half demon, possessing the body of Zeus. Is my clicking there?
No, that's not right. The possessing the body of Zeus.
The body of Zeus became the God Key. She possesses the God Key, so she has the body of Zeus.
You have a fundamental misunderstanding of what the God Key is.
Also, the word possession. Because if she's possessing it, like, do you mean possessing as in holding or as in becoming one with?
It's inside her.
So she merged.
That would work.
She merged with what the key was,
which was made from Zeus's body.
No, it wasn't just his body; it was his complete essence, everything he was.
Okay.
And
little semantic there, but yeah.
And Satan, both of them were combined to make the God Key. Like everything that they were.
No, they combined
that's
the transcendent key.
You're the transcendent key, yeah.
The God Key.
You only have the God Key. Yeah, the God Key. Yeah, the God Key is. There's 2 of them. There was Zeus and there was Satan. But then when you bring them together, they become the transcendent.
By the way,
key.
Why Zeus? Why the Greek mythology mix?
I know, right? You've got the Christian mythology for the bad guys.
and I loved how each incarnation of a name for the devil is a different character. I did like that.
Having grown up in a Christian religion.
Yeah.
Like I kept being like, oh, so that's Satan. Satan's alive.
Nope.
No,
Satan's dead.
that's
Satan's the
actually
key.
a demon character who happens to have one of the alternate names for Satan from the Bible. Oh, is that
Exactly.
Satan? No, that's
Nope.
just Lucifer. Okay, I got it now. I figured you out, anime.
Yeah, exactly.
So back up. Help me with my understanding here.
Hmm.
Satan turned into a key.
Yes.
One of the God keys.
Okay. What or where was he?
I get the impression that he was in Helheim, which when they finally got there and everything changed into this horrid wasteland with floating isles, that's when they combined and she turned into the transcendent key.
No. Step back here.
Mm.
She went to heaven and
Helheim.
No.
You mean into heaven to get the God key?
She got the God key. The God key was a thing she was able to summon and then absorb.
Right.
That was
Okay.
Zeus.
That was Zeus.
Where was the thing she could absorb in Helheim?
They had already prepared it for her. I don't know what she did, but when
Was
she
it
turned into
Beelzebub's staff?
I don't know, but when she
Or-
touched it, she turned into an orb.
Or it was in the angel Nicole. And when she hugged her,
Oh my
she
God.
absorbed it.
Oh, I could totally see that. That's beautiful.
That's what I thought they were going for, but they did not explain it. You're
They did
absolutely
not
right.
explain that.
Okay, so that's where my misunderstanding is I don't know where Satan
You don't know
was
when
this
she
entire-
touched the second God key.
Right, to turn into the transcendent key.
Yeah, and when she was that orange
Yes.
orb, she was
Orb.
both.
She was the transcended key at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, what did you think of the character?
All
I
right.
like Amira.
Yeah, I liked her too.
Yeah.
She felt like a, but it's explained later on why. But she felt like a escaped mental patient from a mental hospital that was suffering amnesia,
Which
And-
was awesome.
and then she was told that she needed to go to this place to find her mother. Like that basically describes what we encounter. Oh, but she's got superpowers, right?
I was super thrown off in the beginning because I'm like, she's very mysterious and wise. Like she
Right.
came from another dimension and she has powers and
my
she's
God,
the
yeah.
smartest person here. And then I'm like, she's an idiot.
Yeah,
Is she always an idiot? Did I
And
just
then
miss
you
that?
find out. Oh wait, she's 5 years old.
she eats like Goku.
She's 5 years old and
Okay.
she drinks like a sailor.
Yes.
I take back my statement from the pre-show. I just realized she was 5 years old.
What's wrong
That
with that?
hurts.
Wait, you weren't joking during the pre-show? I thought that was
I
a
was
joke
joking.
when you said, "Oh, there's no underage relationships." I'm like,
Oh,
yeah,
there
because
totally
I'm
is.
5-year-old.
Yeah.
God damn it. Okay. Son of a
So
bitch.
good.
All right. Anyways, yeah, she was all right. She was kind of because of those reasons. She was a little flat for me, but definitely more of a story motivator than anything else.
So I have an issue when an anime will take someone who's really, really young and make them this incredibly wise person. So when they instead take someone who's really, really young and they portray them as inexperienced and naive and silly and young, I actually think that's a really cool part of it. Now, I totally understand, like with the concept that basically he's falling for her and she's falling for him. That's awkward, but she's not really even a child. She was never a child. She is a clone. So
Right.
there's also issues in that regard as well, where she's mentally 5, but she never had a child's body. She was never a child. She was a clone. So, I mean, there's weird stuff, a clone without memory. So
Does that make it better?
I don't know. There are so many sci-fis that are written about clones.
Okay,
I don't know. That's something that
And she's
should
not.
be explored
She's Nicole's soul ripped out of her, right?
and turned into a demon.
And then given demon aspects so that she's an angel demon hybrid. But
Which-
she's
Oh,
not a clone. She's literally like an essence of Nicole ripped and given.
I was under the impression that
Made physical.
Beelzebub was raping her, but
Oh God.
No, he used
Okay.
the staff, and that's why they said, basically I am kind of a father, but only because I made her from Nicole by controlling the magic.
okay.
So
He grew her in a magical vat, basically.
yeah,
Because they showed her at one point like pulsating in some kind of
but
magic ball.
that wasn't even real because that was part of her memory from her pendant. So there's like
Yeah, that's true. Gosh.
there's there's stuff about this that as I was watching it, I was like, I understand what's going on. She's mysterious and everything. And then, oh my God, she's adult. What's going on here? And then, I get it. Okay, she's the child of this angel and she's a half-breed. And then that's smashed to smithereens. I don't know who she is. And then I'm wondering, well, what is she? Why does she have these memories? Why does this guy claim to be a bodyguard of her mother? Then that's all smashed. Everything, time and time again, they would get me to believe something and think that I understood where the story was going with her. And then they would just completely smash that and go another way. And it's totally, the story worked with the direction they went. And so for me, Amira. Yeah.
Amara.
Yeah.
Lady
In the subtitle version, they just did Lady Amira.
Yeah.
So for me, she's kind of the symbol of a character that you never can predict. You never can completely understand who she is and where she's going and what decision she's going to make. And in the end, I loved the way they went with her. So I thought she was a fantastic character.
Wait, I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
So my review is she was all right. She's not in the sequel, and I'm not gonna miss her. I didn't ever connect emotionally to her. Every time there was an emotional beat for her, I was like, okay. And that's not like me. I was actually noticing that, like, oh, she's hugging who she thinks is her mom.
You didn't connect with that?
I didn't. I didn't.
I did.
And I thought that was kind of weird. And maybe that was just me in my state of mind while we watched this. But
hater.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like it was the anime's fault, but I won't.
You like to blame.
Sure. But my question was,
get in here.
So her powers are pretty magic girl generic. I transform into a more powerful form. However, she had a second thing where anyone would attack her, a shadowy figure would jump out and protect her. Was that like Beelzebub's essence?
That was Beelzebub using her as a proxy.
Okay.
So I got to get this off my chest. It really doesn't matter the age of her body. If her mind is 5 years old, it's not okay to seduce her.
I don't know if I would ever say Favreau was seducing her.
No, that's fine.
And to be fair, she kissed him.
Yeah, fine. I'm just saying, because you're like, oh, there's all sorts of different sci-fi stories where you clone people. No, consent is based off of maturity, not the age of your body.
So is it okay for Kaiser to sleep with Rita?
Rita's like 40, 50 years old.
Yeah. And she has the body of a 10-year-old. So you're cool with that?
Can we flip it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying yes or no. I think there's a gray area there, and I'm just saying it's weird both ways.
Well,
child mind. Either way, I'm probably not comfortable with it.
To be clear, necrophilia is never okay.
I got to do a little bit of story pumping because we
went way off topic. Okay.
Basically, Favreau is bragging about how he can get to the city Helheim.
Yes.
Helheim? Okay.
Yep.
And that is where Amara needs to go. So when she hears that, she asks if he will take her. They go through this whole thing like, if you give me a kiss, I'll take you. And it's not take you; it's tell you where it is.
Right.
And then there's the big battle. Monster. She transforms. Yada yada yada. He gets knocked out. She does kiss him while he's knocked out, and so when he wakes up, he has a demon tail attached to his body, which is a sign of a contract that he promised he would tell her where to go. And since he has no idea how to get there, he's like, I'll just take you. And then he starts dragging her around with the intention of murdering her to get rid of this curse. Now, at first I was like, that's messed up. He's going to murder this human. And then I realized he didn't, because the bracelet wouldn't activate. So he has this bounty hunter bracelet that glows in the demonic presence. And he's like, she's a demon, but it won't glow, so he can't kill her. I did like that the bracelets turn people into cards, knowing that this comes from a card game. I was like, that's a clever twist to tie it back into your game. I'll give them props for that.
Hang on, though, because the bracelet turning red, from the perspective or the impression I got, meant demon presence, didn't mean can turn this person into a card. Because there were a lot of humans that they could turn into cards.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was implying that.
No, but they have to have, like, you be using, like, black magic or something for that. It has to activate for them to turn you into a card. It can't be
No, you have to do a spell.
It flashes blue, and you have to say something magical. Like,
I thought it only flashed red. Did I miss? I must have missed that.
Yeah. No. It flashes blue when they cast the spell to capture them.
Yeah, it's like a pokey card.
Yeah.
So can he do that to anyone, or I thought you had to like qualify to the rules of the bracelet. They have a
bounty on their head.
They have to have a bounty, but they did not quantify the rules for how to catch the bounty, because in most cases they had to mortally wound the bounty and then they could cast a spell, but then they broke that rule at the end.
End they just, hey, the spell will catch anybody.
Well, and I don't know though, because I think that in that case the guy was run through with a sword and said, I can't be killed, I'm beyond death, basically.
That's true. He got a sword through him.
Yep.
Right, but if he's beyond death and he was standing there just fine,
then Bacchus's magic must be enough on its own.
Kaiser thinks that Favreau is now a demon, and since he already wants
everyone around him does. It's funny. Nobody sees it as, oh, that guy's got a contract. No, everyone just straight up calls him a demon.
Which says that demons are very much hated in this land. They're not viewed upon favorably. Kaiser's like, oh, if he's a demon and he's obviously capturing this young innocent woman, I have to go kill him even more than I already had to go kill him.
he's been fooling me our entire childhood.
Yeah. Yep.
They get to the next town after some more bounty hunter. We meet Bacchus, who's in charge of the bounty hunter. Again, a Greek god, the god of drinking, showing up. And
wine and revelry.
And I don't know the duck is Hamsa, whatever his name is. I get the reference. But he also has a talking duck.
Yep.
Isn't the cart also a god?
I thought it was just a pet. I didn't realize it was a god.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, then they get to this city. The soldiers are coming through looking for this girl, and Favreau sells her out. He's like, I know exactly where she is. His horse forces him to save her.
Yep.
This guy needs to really tie up his smoke bombs because everyone's stealing them. Everyone else is using him but him. They're just flying everywhere all the time.
Yep.
The horse throws down smoke bombs, and then, of course, it looks like he is responsible for saving her, and he gets blamed for it. They rush out onto this rope bridge, and this was another really pretty animated scene where he really spins with his crossbow revolver, starts shooting the rope of the bridge so that they'll fall. And they're able to get away that way. So yeah, he's kind of forced into saving her. And
it's important to note in this scene that one of the lieutenants over the guards actually notices a red pendant around her neck and says, "Don't shoot them, don't kill them."
Right. So we will talk about this lieutenant later, but I will be honest, it took me forever to realize this was the same character that kept popping up.
Yeah, me too.
Because with his helmet on, I'm like, generic goatee soldier, good for you. And when his helmet's off, his hair is very unique. Like he's got the
he's got the beads in it and stuff.
How'd you guys miss that?
Oh, I knew him the moment that I saw his hair off or his helmet off.
Until she said that soldier is my father, I was like, who's the dad? Who's this guy who's leading her around?
So from the time he told Kaiser, desperation can be a great motivation, to the time he turned into the dude at the end,
you knew it was the same guy every time?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I was just paying attention. That was rude.
You didn't know that he was Martinet, though. You just knew that he was Lavalley.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. I knew he was the same soldier.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As soon as I realized who he was, I did know he was going to be our villain.
Really? When was that?
As soon as that's my dad. As soon as she's like,
the knighting scene where they're getting knighted and she's standing there.
No. As soon as he finds her in the castle alone, and she's like, "I found my father." I'm like, "Oh, that's the bad."
Oh,
guy.
when he's in the hood.
Oh, I had no idea.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't either.
I assumed the dad had to be our villain. If the mom's the MacGuffin and the dad's, it just seemed obvious.
But he wasn't
going to be our bad guy.
But
he kept showing up late. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was late, Commander." Yeah, no, sorry, buddy.
You're up to something.
you're doing things.
Yeah. Well, good catch.
She tells him that she tells Favreau that she is the God Key. She shares that story. The next episode, we find out there's demons hunting her, and that's also. But the next episode is a really cool, almost self-contained episode where
it's my favorite episode, actually.
I see, and I know this is your favorite character coming up. Favreau and Amra, they decided to take this bounty because they need some spending money, and Kaiser is taken to this home.
But before you get into that, the cliff scene was pretty great. You got to go over the cliff scene real quick.
He's trying to get a plant to get ready for the bounty, and he gets attacked by like a flying serpent that lives in this cliff, and he almost dies fighting it. And then when he gets down, he's like, "You have a winged form. Why aren't you doing this?"
Yep.
And then she's like, "That looks tasty."
Yeah. She reminds me of Kana from Kobayashi Dragon Maid.
Yes.
Because she just wants to eat everything. She even eats like monsters and is like, they're not very tasty.
Yeah.
So Kaiser is saved by this young woman because he had passed out for some reason in his dogged pursuit. This young girl and her parents, and the young girl's super rude to her parents. She's like, don't eat their food. It's disgusting. And this is Rita. Yep. Jason, tell us who Rita really is.
Rita comes off as like a 10-year-old girl, and even she looks like a 10-year-old girl. Unfortunately, it comes to fruition that because so he, they bind him up. They are not bind him, but they bind up his wounds. They feed him. They give him a place to sleep, and then they're like, hey, in the morning. Every morning we have monsters come and they are ravaging our town. We need you to help us against them. And he's like, absolutely. I will do my best to defend you because, you've done this great thing for me. And Rita's just like, you are disgusting. I can't believe you're doing this. And he just cannot figure her out. He even gives her this like great like parent to child.
Yeah, he talks about how his dad died, and we learn more about his backstory.
Yeah, and she just has the most apathy ever. He gets done with this really emotional, heartfelt story about his dead dad. She's like, eh. Yeah. And so in the morning, these monsters come, and he starts fighting them. And it was pretty great because the audience was already clued in on what was happening. But, right. It's this big, ogre-looking thing. He's got this spiked club, and the spiked club is moving strangely fast. And then all of a sudden, he does like the ogre does like the spin move, and like an arrow comes out, like a bolt comes out of the end of the club.
That was awesome.
And he just never figures it out. And finally, you realize that the two ogres are Amara and Favreau. And he basically, the herb that they were getting was to prevent them from being influenced by this fog. And so he goes, hey, does this smell like chloroform? And puts it on Kaiser, and then Kaiser comes to the realization that not only are they not bad guys, but the people that have been giving him this great hospitalities are really mindless zombies.
And the food was maggots.
Because she's like, oh, I don't eat maggot soup. And he thought, oh, why would you say something terrible about it? No, it's really maggot soup.
What was great is he had already gotten sick from the food earlier. Like, it had hurt his stomach. And then at this point, he realizes what he ate and just everywhere.
Right. But what was really interesting is that this little girl is not a little girl. She's like 50 years old.
200.
200. Yeah. Her family, her family long dead. And she has this book, which is the bounty. Mm-hmm. And she was bestowed very powerful necromantic magic. And she controls all of them. And,
because she gets bit.
I think she loses focus.
Yeah, I think she loses focus. Because, she's able to, like, basically say, hey, go attack these guys, and they have to start fighting them.
I don't know. Well, look, okay. What do you guys think of Rita?
She's my favorite character. I think she's great. I think she's got a great backstory. She's got a very dry personality about her that comes off really funny to me. And also, she talk about anti-hero. She like Troy said, she gets bit, she literally dies, and then comes back to life as a zombie, but is somehow able to keep her mental faculties for the rest of the anime. Not only keep her mental faculties, but then because she's a zombie, she can bite and kill just about anyone, and then take control of them.
Yeah, she still has her necromancer powers because of her scepter.
Yeah,
I didn't get the impression it was because of the scepter.
Or
I think
she's a conduit.
She has it. She just needs something to direct it. It seems.
Well, I mean, just like the ability to maintain her own awareness and everything. I think I would call her a lich from everything that I've ever seen in video games about liches.
I would agree with that.
Stuff. And so I think the scepter is just a magic artifact that she has that augments her power that she's gained over 200 years.
So technicality, she can't be a lich because she doesn't have a urn somewhere with her with her remains in it.
Well, I mean,
technicality if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know that she doesn't have something like that.
Wait, Jeremy, what did you think of the character? Because when I go, Jason's going to get mad at me. So why don't you
okay. I really liked Rita. I thought she was a fantastic character. I'm actually really surprised that Jason forgot to mention her arm and her throws and her punches.
Well, we're going to get into those later.
Oh, okay.
I figured I would just describe the episode and then we would get into those later.
Well, I really liked how you got the vibe that she was a 200-year-old necromancing granny. And she's just kind of there because she knows something big's going on and she's tagging along with these youngins that are going to fix it, but they're really driving her up a tree sometimes. And she has to reach out beyond her reach, throw her arm and punch them in the face, to put them in their place, calling them brats, things like that. It's just the feel clashed so much with the character's age and image that it made for a fantastic combination.
I forgot. It was the book that she was able to use the magic to keep herself young.
But the book got destroyed before she was bitten.
Right.
Oh, you mean the book got her young, but it didn't turn her into a zombie.
And then when she got zombified, then now she's stuck.
She's got her own magic and she's stuck,
Okay, so I really like the idea of Rita. I love everything you guys said about her dry personality, and this having this necromancer on the team. I just don't feel like we ever got to know her. I feel like she showed up every time the characters lost their focus on the plot, and she made them look. She's the only one paying attention to the story, and she's like, "Look, guys, we have to go to. Remember, we have to go do this thing."
Yeah, they would always be fighting, and she's just like, "No, go on."
Yeah, story. And she's kind of the Deus. I can never say this right. Deus ex machina. Say that right?
I thought she was more of a parent. She wasn't really a plot device.
Hey,
she was more of a refocusing.
Our demons. I have the ability to cure them. Hey,
that's fair.
It was little stuff like that. Like, we need a way to get away. I can zombify a dragon and make him fly. She was always there to save the day, and like I said, she's the only one paying attention to the story and actually and she figures out the bad guy before everyone else, and she's like, by the way, that's the bad guy, everybody. and she's the only character, because the other characters are so themselves and obsessed with their own, tied up in their own issues. She's the only one paying attention, and she didn't get to shine. I didn't feel like I got to know Rita very well. I want to see her character more because I do like her personality. I think it'd be great. What's her inner struggle? What is her arc? She doesn't really have one.
200 years old. What could she possibly have?
Yeah,
she just got with life. Killed and is amputated in parts. There's got to be something going on in there.
Okay, well, I got to say something about the plot device issue. At what point does something change from being a legitimate, established use of abilities that are within the realm of what a character has been made for and becoming a plot device? Because nothing that she did seemed like it was.
I think if you're going to have a character who's just there because of her abilities and not there because of their character story and their development, then they become that.
So the reason I are siding with Troy more than you, Jeremy, because I do like where you're going with that, is it was 100% against Kaiser's nature and chivalrousness to allow a zombie to be with a necromantic
zombie. Yeah.
Demons are so well hated in this universe, and also zombies. Like they killed the zombies. He had an attachment to her while she was living, but he made the choice to kill her once she started to zombify. Why did he allow her to join the party?
I think that the reason why he saved her is the same reason why he doesn't take he could have killed her right there and been done with it, right? He could have decapitated her, buried her head, whatever. He could have made an issue of this, but I think that it's the same reason he doesn't take his revenge against Favreau seriously, because he has doubt. I don't think that Kaiser is the kind of man who can, if he doubts your evil intent, just kill you. And she doesn't have a bounty on her head, so he can't put her in a card.
So and why there's an entire city that is blessed by the gods, and nobody reaches out or has an issue with Zombie Girl. I found that strange.
I didn't have too much of an issue with that, just because they were going to try to execute her until the archangels came down and said, no, do not harm these people. What are they going to do then? The gods themselves said, do not harm this Zombie Girl.
Absolutely.
So I don't, I guess I could see some of the peasants and regular folk being like, Zombie Girl, or the guards being like, I don't want to be around that. But I also have to disagree a little bit on the concept of her not having any inner struggle. I think we saw her struggle in that episode. I think that was her episode. Where we dealt with her issue was, I'm bored. I'm 200 years old. I've been playing a 10-year-old all my life. These are my parents. Is it okay for me to let them finally die? These are the same parents that I've kept alive for 200 years. That's a really big thing. And she had to let it go.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. But do you really think when the writers were making the story, they added this character because the character was interesting, or because they needed her powers to help with certain plot points?
I think that's an unfair question, because I think every single character and type of creature in this is for a card game. So I think that we could.
And Kaiser, I feel like they're there for their
I bet you they're bounty hunters.
On that same logic, though, Favreau should have died in like the first or second episode, because Amara turned into Demon Girl to save him. I mean, she didn't have to have extraordinary demon powers.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem that there's a character who has powers to help problems. I don't feel Rita's potential was used. I feel like it's a missed opportunity to see more of her and do more with that character that interesting.
She did have multiple zombie hordes that she helped out with.
She did some awesome, crazy.
Again, but that's an ability. I wanted to see her personality. I wanted to know more of her backstory. I wanted to have her have more interactions. Well, and she's just like, I'm really fond of these boys. Why are you really fond of these boys? Why are you fond of Favreau and not just Kaiser? Because you hadn't hardly met Favreau at this point.
Right. I understand where you guys are coming from, but have you talked to grannies? Like, a lot of them are not willing to share their troubles with you. A lot of them are like, oh, you're nice boys. These are nice boys or nice kids or whatever. When they have something else in their mind, they're not just going to vomit it out with their emotions to you. They're grown, mature women.
She's a 200-year-old granny. I'm not asking her to have a emotion vomit. I'm asking for the story writers to
make her emotion vomit.
to develop her.
Yeah. Well, she didn't have any character development.
I think that she was developed to be a 200-year-old granny that's bored. And I thought they portrayed that well. Now, I do think that perhaps a different kind of personality could have been more interesting, but for the character they created, I think she acted exactly within the realm of the design. That's all.
I think it's okay to do that with certain characters of what I'm complaining about. Like, I have no problems with Bacchus, who's really kind of the same thing. He's there to facilitate things, but he's also not on the list of characters to talk about. Rita is, because she was a really interesting, awesome character, and I just don't feel we got enough awesomeness, I guess.
Maybe they will make a prequel. You never know. If Virgin Souls is popular enough, maybe we'll get a Rita backstory.
And maybe she just has more stuff to do and more issues to, we can see more interactions in Virgin Souls. I don't know. Okay, so let's keep going. I don't quite understand what the setup for this is. So Favreau goes to Bacchus, is like, hey, how do I get to this city, by the way? And he tells him, go to this town, and there's a ship. Guys, there's not a ship. Why did Bacchus tell him that? Because a whole misadventure happens from this point.
You got me here. I did not follow like this episode with the pirates and everything. This whole thing to me was one spot in this anime where I was shaking my head and going, this is a break in the story in my mind. Like I don't like the combat sequence and the way things are going and the explanations and the way things are solved and then how everything's just kind of dumped afterwards.
Right.
So I totally agree with you here. The only thing I could think of is that Bacchus knew about Favreau's father's friend at one point in time that had a ship there and that sent him there just for that reason, either knowing or unknowing what was going to happen. I don't know, but that's the only thing I could come up with as an excuse.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Bacchus even shows up in that city later, and like, he's not like, hey, no, that's the ship I meant. The only way there is Bacchus or this flying castle monster.
Maybe he got misinformation. I don't know. It's weird. That spot is weird.
It's a weird thing. So basically, they go to this city and through weird informants get directed to a ship that can take them. And it's someone Favreau knows. It's his father's old thieving buddy. Now, his father was like Robin Hood. They point that out, that he was robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. He was that kind of thief. So Favreau, they go down the ship and they're all sailing. Kaiser and Rita are chasing behind and they get attacked by pirates, which they then zombify. So they have zombie pirate army on their ship.
That was cool. Yeah.
Favreau's ship gets attacked by a giant crab after they have recollection of what my dad was all about. And when Amuro beats the giant crab, mermen show up and grab Favreau because this captain was behind both of these main characters' fathers' deaths, which I was like, really? In episode 4, we're meeting the guy responsible for your death? Oh, and in episode 4, he's dying? That feels like a major thing that could have stuck around. We find out there's another person. I'm like, okay, I guess that's why. But yeah, this ship captain, he made a deal with a demon and now has his demon powers to summon mermen. And
would it come through
by a giant crab?
They've been told at this point that they have bounties on their own heads, right? Amuro has a huge bounty and Favreau has a small bounty, and that's what he wants. He wants their bounty. Kaiser shows up. They have a big zombie pirates versus mermen battle.
Yeah, this was all advertisement for the CCG. That's how I took this. Giant crab, mermen, skeleton pirates.
I really wish I could have played the CCG. I tried to download the app, and it's not for English anymore. They cut that server. That's a bummer. But basically what ends up happening once they all get on the same ship and the two ships are crashed together is these demons that have been hunting them, led by Azazel, their castle ship comes down from the sky and grabs Amuro and by accident Kaiser and pulls them onto the ship.
I didn't like this part just because I thought that's so strange that she's neutralized so easily. But I mean, I guess there's supposed to be something about that tentacle and this jolt that was supposed to neutralize her demon powers for some
magic.
time.
I mean, Azazel is very powerful.
Mm-hmm. To me, that felt more Deus Ex Machina than anything else. Like, we got to take away her powers because she's too powerful and can get out of anything. So,
no, it's for me. It's later it's implied, or I felt it was implied later in the story that because she is a puppet, she has controls on her that the demons can manipulate so that they can do with her what they will.
I would get that impression, but only for Beelzebub and Martinet. I wouldn't get it for Azazel.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, they're abducted. Rita and Favreau team up to save them. Favreau doesn't want to, and then he's like, okay, I will. And then he sacrifices everything to do it. That's when he goes to Bacchus, and he's like, I crushed my jewel. I don't remember why crushing the jewel convinced him. Just showed his determination? Was that it?
Yeah, like he gave up his bounty hunting or something. I guess it was supposed to be a sign of destroying something so important to him, since it's all he wanted to do. The reason I think why he went to do it was just because he's always been trying to help Kaiser.
We meet properly what is currently the main villain, and will not stay that way. He's the Vegeta of the story, I guess. Azazel, what did you guys think of him?
I feel a little bit like you feel about Rita. I wish there was more of him. I wish there was more of his backstory and his place in hell. He was one of those potentially rich characters that they
even mentioned he's a fallen angel. He's not just a straight up demon. He's a fallen angel that is now a demon. Yeah.
And it's like he's got a stick up his butt.
But I liked him. I felt I killed your fathers.
Now prepare to die.
Overdone.
I know.
Not just overdone, but it was never addressed. Like, you've got these two characters that could have a vendetta against this demon, and it's just kind of dwindles away.
We seriously need an OVA that is the backstory of their father's deaths, because what the heck actually happened?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think when something so big as Bahamut eclipses everything else, I think that's a fair argument to make for why they're not obsessed with killing Azazel.
Not at this point.
Ignoring the biggest. Yeah, I think so. Because they fight him and they're trying to kill him until he's gone. When Jean of Arc
says, "I don't actually care that you killed my dad." That's not.
But this is Favreau. Kaiser's the only one that I think would actually be like, I will kill you. But that's why Favreau's like, he didn't kill your dad. I killed your dad, because he knew Kaiser would pursue him to the ends of the earth to kill him, and he'd die in the process because there's no way he can beat Azazel.
So I
don't know.
I agree with Jason that he is a little bit squandered here. He wasn't interesting all the way up till he gets his butt kicked.
I agree with that.
And then when they find him and he kind of switches sides, they get a little bit of, like I said, a little Vegeta going on with him, which makes me worry that they went so hard on the "I killed both your dads" angle, because how are you going to give this guy a retribution arc? Now, I will confess, after I finished this anime, I went and watched the trailers for Virgin Soul. That is the sequel series to this. And it seems like it focuses on him. And like he's a savior for demon kind who has now been enslaved by the humans for their role in this whole anime. That's a super interesting plotline. And I could be really into that but you still had them kill their dads. How?
I doubt that the other two characters, I doubt they're going to be in it. Favreau and Kaiser.
Kaiser is in it for sure.
I've
seen him in the trailers a lot, especially interacting with Azazel. Favreau, I don't know if he's in it very much. I think I've seen one flash of his face in one of the trailers, but who knows if that's a flashback or what. I haven't seen him very much in the trailers. Kaiser's in it a lot.
I vaguely remember reading that the characters that were the main characters of Origin were not as prominent, or some were even not there, is what I read. But maybe it was in the early episodes or something.
Right. But again, so I agree. A lot of potential, and I would love to see that potential used, especially in that sequel series. But up until that later point in this anime, I was like, no, you're just kind of the guy they need to beat up.
Yeah. The moment that he really changed for me was not in the cart. The moment he changed for me was when he saved Kaiser. At that point, I was like, okay, this is actually really interesting as a character. I can get behind this guy and see what he's going to do. Because then he went ahead and led Demonkind to help try to re-imprison Bahamut. So, that was actually a really, really cool direction they went with his character there. Other than that, he was a little bit funny at sometimes. The way that he would just get so pissed off when Favreau would let the steam out of his balloon and take away his thunder. Those are great moments. Or when they stab him.
Arch enemy. No, you're not. I don't have an arch enemy. I don't care.
Exactly.
I did love. Great. I did love how he would antagonize him. The Favreau would antagonize Azazel, and then he would reach for his weapon. He's like, "Oh, I don't have a. Oh crap!"
Yes, yes, yeah.
But I honestly thought he was gonna let Kaiser fall. I thought he was just gonna cut him down and let him fall.
Really?
Yeah.
My gut said he was going to catch him, but still, the idea of the moment was pretty cool.
Now, what you said, Jeremy, about when he switches sides, I think I agree with that. That's when he got interesting. However, when they put him in the cart, I was like, "Oh, you have plans for this character. You're going to do something." And that's probably the only thing I didn't expect. I thought I was like, "Oh, this is a bad guy for sure. Bad guy, bad guy, bad guy." And then they put him in that cart. I'm like, "Oh, you thinking of having them switch sides? Okay, let's see where that goes." And then once he catches Kaiser and makes that choice of, okay, I'm putting the greater good ahead of vengeance, I was like, okay, yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a moment where I felt like, okay, see, this is generic fantasy. Favreau and Rita, they get to the thing. Bacchus takes them. They get on this flying castle monster, and they're running through the castle, and they're fighting skeleton soldiers. Okay, yeah, generic. And the crazy thing was, it didn't even occur to me, like, why skeleton soldiers? I was just like, yep, skeleton soldiers. Of course, they're skeleton soldiers. There's always skeleton soldiers.
Cards, man.
You know what would have been? I was rooting and just praying and hoping this would happen, that a army of skeleton soldiers from the demons would start marching at him, and Rita goes, "Nope, mine," and then all of a sudden they all turn to her control.
Well, that would have been cool.
That would have been so amazing.
That would have been cool.
But apparently they're not undead. That's just what they are. They were just
that means they're not undead skeletons, but they're reanimated by magic. So.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I have like super technicalities when it comes to the undead. Yeah. And fantasy, that is.
Yeah.
Amuro is being tortured. Kaiser is being mentally tortured. They tell him, just so you know, that's a demon girl you're trying to save. And they kind of try to hype him up for fighting Favreau again. Like, hey, yeah, remember? He killed your dad. And he goes to attack Favreau. Rita does the arm slap.
That was so great.
I was telling these guys in the pre-show because they're fighting, and then all of a sudden here comes Rita's arm and punches Kaiser in the face. And I'm like, oh, she's slapping him around, getting him to stop so they can do whatever. And then you realize that she's really far away from them, like nearly across the room, and she doesn't have her left arm. Like, it's gone. And you realize, oh, zombie girl threw her arm to punch him across the room.
That was an awesome.
She does that a couple times. The one at the end, the sequence where it's like multiple segments.
Oh yeah, that was great. I actually rewound it and called Tanya, where I was like, "You have to see this. This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this."
The human army shows up. Joan d'Arc's army stops the ship from entering the demon world.
That was cool.
And like cuts the portal off when they're halfway through and starts attacking the ship,
which cuts the head off of the ship.
And it just starts bleeding demon blood. It was so great.
And they stand in it.
Yep.
Favreau and Kaiser team up to fight Hazazu, who is a demon who works for Azazel, and manage to defeat him. And they all get away thanks to Rita's zombifying one of the dragons and making it fly them away. But they do get caught right afterwards.
Yeah, they don't get far
by the human army, and they're brought before the king. And then the angels show up and are like, "Okay, you caught him. Good job. Lock him in the city, but be good to him because if you piss him off, might break out." And it should be mentioned, we keep seeing scenes of like the angels building this barrier around this giant dragon who, like, it's raging and the energy is starting to come out, and they're having to send more and more angels to try to contain it. So things are bad because this key has been stolen.
Also, his power level against the encasement seemed to be directly related to Amara's emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
And the angels actually make mention that, like, hey, don't kill her friends, because if she goes too emotionally wacko, like, we could lose him even without the God Key reintroduced to him.
It could all be over.
They won't even need the God Key. Like, he'll just bust out on his own if she gets too upset.
Yep.
So while the group is locked in the city, they're actually treated very well. But I believe they said what they were. They're not trolls. Ghouls. Ghouls attack the city, which apparently in this world are giant monsters. And
giant
monsters.
Like Titan size.
But it's okay because the city has mecha that come out of their wall and battle.
No, they're magical golems.
Oh, I know, but they were so cool.
They were cool. They weren't mechs.
Check. We're going down generic fantasy world.
Man, look at me. I'm getting so technical. I need to stop it. Okay.
The cool thing, though, is this is when we see just how powerful Joan d'Arc is. She comes out with her spear and she like blasts them all with a giant blast, and the blast only gets the demons. This character plays a big important part, but didn't play as big a part as I thought she would. So what did you guys think of her?
Trope.
What?
Trope.
I didn't think she was a trope at all. I think that she had a very interesting flip-flop, and her character lost what was most important to her. And I thought that was what was really cool about it. Like, she has been lauded as this hero that has come to save everyone. And really, in a really well-known trope, she would get to be that hero. She would stand on Bahamut's head and be the one from the statue. But in the end, she winds up being the one that brings about his freedom and allowing the destruction to happen. The exact opposite, and has to watch after killing all the archangels that she vowed to protect.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I mean, like, the arc that she went on was so painful. I would argue that she is one of the most
the arc she went on.
The arc Jean went on was one of the most painful. I mean, the only other really painful one would probably be Amira's. But just what she experienced was, it had to fit because they chose it to be Joan of Arc. It had to fit her story. I understood that was coming, but they went as far as they could go with it. Like, they made her the witch that she was burned at the stake for, and I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, so
wasn't enough time. We did not spend enough time with Joan to feel any. At least me, I didn't feel any emotional connection, and I saw every step coming. Like, every single step coming. As soon as what's-his-face's head rolled off, like, I knew, okay, she's going to get blamed for it. And also she was super one-dimensional when it came to her powers and her being this rah-rah for the god. I mean, coming back to Drifters, that was a cool interpretation of Joan.
Yeah, that's what I kept thinking of when I was watching this, was like, man, Drifter's interpretation was so cool. But in defense of her, they literally have the character Joan of Arc in there. So the storyline of her going through the stake and getting burned, you can't really blame the anime for taking those steps. So I'm going to kind of piecemeal your guys' points into how I feel. Tropey up until that burn point when she's burned at the stake wasn't a huge twist, and I don't feel I got the emotional connection because I never got to find the resolution afterwards. I actually think it'd be really interesting in Virgin Soul to see what she's going through, what her character has become, having been the instrument of the world's destruction when she wanted to be the instrument of the world's salvation. Because we literally just see her go down and be like, oh, well, I'm out.
I suck.
Oh, I disagree with that. Like, I think when she's sitting there and she just died while falling through the air with Michael, the archangel who gave her all her power's gone because it all came from him. And so now she's sitting on the ground with tears in her eyes, looking up at that statue made real of Bahamut with someone else standing on his head. And then the next time we see her, she's standing as just a regular soldier in the army.
She was still the head of the army, wasn't
she?
She
was.
She was one of the lieutenants, but only because Kaiser was supposed to be the other one, and they're supposed to have two. So, like, just she lost so much from that I think you could – I felt it just from the way that she spoke. she just seemed downtrodden, like somebody had just walked all over her. And I do want to see her more in Virgin Souls. I think that they've created a fantastic character with a fantastic backstory. And I think that now they can do stuff just like they did with Azazel, where they've created something really good here, and they can just expound on it.
I feel fantastic's a little strong.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I liked it a lot.
It's not fair because we did just watch Drifters, which had a lot of similar elements, had the same character in it, and I really liked their interpretation, their twist. I felt they twisted it so well to make her a villain who controls fire. That's so good.
Yeah.
And to have this one go through all the story beats that she's supposed to go through, it just didn't feel as special.
Exactly. That's what I meant by tropey, is that everything that happened to her felt like it just about every other interpretation I've seen of her in other media, that this is what happens to her, right?
I'm not familiar with those. I'm only familiar with the ones where she dies wrongfully at the stake, not where she turns into an actual witch or demon, kills all the angels.
I saw her. So the reason I saw her becoming bad guy is A, she got God-killing sword, and I was like, oh, okay, that's going to get used against him. And then B, dude had an ability to make someone a demon.
As soon as they said this sword can kill a god, I'm like, oh, that sword's going to kill a god.
Yeah.
Kind of spelled it out.
When did we see that guy had the ability to make a demon? I thought it was with her. That's the first time we saw it. Yeah.
He tempted her in the jail cell. And so I was like, oh, that's to turn her.
Oh, I mean, I thought it was to give her the hallucinations, which she wound up having at the stake. But I didn't realize until she took it that I was like, oh, crap.
Well, whether she got turned into a demon, I wasn't quite sure.
She'd be corrupted.
But I knew
they
she
called
would
her
be
a
corrupted.
witch.
Yeah.
They said Bacchus is actually the one who said, oh, now she really is a witch.
Yeah.
So,
which will happen soon in the story. We also meet, and even though we have kind of met him before, our true villain, Martinet. He actually shows up and mocks Azazel for failing. Which I was like, oh, who is this guy? And then he kind of disappears again. But
we got to see him in Amira's dreams.
Flashback, right? He's her teacher.
Or her memories, and that's her teacher. And that's really all the information we had of him up until this point.
And around the same time, Lovely starts leading Amra around the castle, and he's like, yeah, I'm your daddy. Or she thinks I don't know if he ever says I'm your father.
He never answers.
She assumes that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he implied confirmed in the room where everyone was there.
And this keeps happening. She keeps disappearing. Everyone keeps going looking for her.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn, Jean, we learn from her about the Zeus and Satan. Again, it's really weird that Zeus is the god and Satan is the demon. Like, it just doesn't balance.
No, it's super weird.
So she chases after who she thinks is her dad, and then the demon army led by Azazel comes and attacks the city, and we get this really big war going on. Jean, he even identifies like that's the only threat to us. The rest of these are weak and pathetic. Mm-hmm. She has the power to hurt us, so he sends I forgot his name already. Azazuza. He goes and fights her. And she manages to kill him, even though it's tough. She needs help. She has to get that was pretty cool. The mages making a path for her to get to him on the sky. Really good action scene. But Azazel gets into the city and finds Amra, who's been drinking and eating to her heart's content. So she's wasted.
She's trying to dance again.
Yes. She wants to go back to dancing. And then we get the really cool fight scene between him and Favreau, and then Kaiser comes back because Favreau was like, oh, I will take him on so you guys can escape. Again, why? Little golden-hearted.
Yeah. You do have a point there, but I don't know. I think it's because, once again, his tail is bound to her, and I don't think that her being captured would let his tail go away. I don't know. It's weird.
I think he's just a good guy. That fight's really cool, especially once he realizes I can use my tail, and he starts grabbing him with the tail, and they start combo fighting. From years of fighting against each other as friends and then as enemies, these two know each other's moves, and work very well. They do manage to hit him, but he's not phased because I'm a freaking demon.
Yeah. Normal weapons cannot kill me.
To quote the movie Dogma, yeah, I'm a freaking demon. They all end up battling on the roof. Kaiser makes this big sacrificial attack because he sees Joan d'Arc powering up her blast. He gets sent flying. Joan of Arc blasts Azazel. He disappears. Favreau catches Kaiser. I believe we've mentioned that you guys thought he would. Someone thought he would drop. Someone thought he would catch him.
No. We were talking about a later scene.
Yeah, that was Azazel catching him.
Okay.
Well, not catching, but letting him go.
Okay. So I liked how he used his tail to help catch his buddy.
That was cool.
And I also liked how it wasn't Kaiser wakes up, he's like, oh, and then, Favreau being like, hey, buddy, come on, let's get to safety. No, Favreau is in pain. And he's just like, I'm going to drop you.
Yep. Hurry up.
That's not normal. I liked that.
Yep.
Lamely comes back and leads Amra to the Bahamut statue, so she disappears again.
What kind of statue?
I did it again, didn't I? Bahamut. So we're gonna find out later that Lavely and Martinet are the same character. What did you guys think of this villain?
He was so far into the shadows that he was into the shadows for the audience.
Did we ever meet the real him more than for a few moments? Really?
Right. So it was neat to have that reveal of, hey, I've been the puppet master behind this whole thing for the entire thing. But it was fairly underwhelming because I had no idea. We only met him a couple times. We don't actually see his interactions.
Did he have a reason? Because
he just wanted to watch. He literally wanted to watch the world burn.
He's obsessed with death. Mm-hmm.
It
goes back to Gilderay. Just like in Drifters, just like in Fate Zero, this person from history that they're basing a character off of was a sick man, and that's where they drew the inspiration for this character. So for me, this character was, just like you said, Jason, he was in the shadows so much I didn't really get the sense of who he was as Martinet. The impression of Lavally that I got was a truly noble knight that was trying to help. I bought into his story about being a bodyguard for Nicole. I totally did, yeah. And so when this flipped and Lavally was the bad guy and he had orchestrated all of this and he was just a pawn of Beelzebub, I was like...
You didn't think it was weird he was leading her around the castle?
No, he was talking to his daughter in secrecy. It was the only place where ears couldn't hear. No one could spy on him.
Actually, come to think of it, Martinet was not a demon, was he? He was just a sorcerer.
He was a human.
Yeah, he was just a sorcerer. And and what was neat about the twist was he was just a human that had manipulated humankind, demonkind, and angelkind from the shadows. But because it was so much in the shadows, really didn't get a chance to know who this Martinet dude was.
So when did you guys actually realize that Lavally was a villain? Was it when you realized all the necklaces were evil?
So for me...
Because he had a necklace the whole time. He's like, I also have a necklace. And then you find out Martinet can just make necklaces at whim and all the necklaces are his.
When the compass didn't lead him to the right spot, I was like, Lavally's a bad guy. I did not connect the two were the same person until the end sequence.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. I thought he was working with him.
Yeah, I thought they were two separate people.
I still thought that he was somehow duped. And when I found out that the necklaces were from the bad guy, I also found out that the necklaces give you false memories. And so I still thought that Lavally was duped because he genuinely thought he was doing a noble and good deed. I didn't think that he was doing something bad. I did not realize he was a bad guy until Martinet basically was him, back and forth. And at that point, I was like, oh, he's just looking like Lavally. He's still not Lavally.
Because he becomes Kaiser for a second, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I'm losing control of my body because I've shifted too much. It took until the end when they're fighting him and he's given that evil grin, and I'm like, there is no Lavally. Lavally doesn't exist. Only Martinet exists. At that point, I was like, they got me. They completely got me. I thought Lavali was a separate person, and I bought into him being duped.
Yeah, because they showed Lavali they did like little flashbacks of him sabotaging Joan with all the different little things that he did inside the castle.
Yep.
So a couple of things happened in the aftermath of this battle. One, I already was kind of assuming Favreau was going to be our holy knight of legend because he's the main character. And when you tell a prophecy to a main character, you're like, the prophecy's probably about you. You've been having the dreams.
Yep.
But then in the next scene, they're brought before the king, and the king knights them. And I'm like, wow, holy knight. You're stuck.
Yep.
But there's a great scene with this where the angels come down and they're like, look, we brought you a super weapon. And the king's like, yes. And they give it to Joan d'Arc. And the king's like, what?
Yeah. And then the king's like, you got another one, right?
Don't you have something for me?
Yeah.
This for me was a Solomon David moment. Or not Solomon, Saul and David moment.
Right.
From biblical history, yeah.
But I did love as Favreau's being knighted. He's just like,
yes, that was great too.
And after this, we see someone poison. I thought he was going to be killed. That someone poisons his wine, but then it ends up just being a hallucination of his mother telling him, "Joan d'Arc's going to kill you."
This is so great,
mommy.
This is so great.
The king did not get portrayed well. Poor guy.
Oh, I thought, it was horrible, and I thought it was fantastic. It was a really nice flavor for the anime.
I was actually a little disappointed in this because, again, it felt tropey. Like the king being jealous of his troops. Because when we first meet him, and the first couple episodes where we have some interaction with the king, he seems like a sit back and command king. And he was content with what his role was, and he enjoyed having Joan on the battlefield being his strong arm. So to have this weird flip of, I want to be on the front lines, that it didn't feel right.
And there had been a scene like when Favreau runs up and hugs him, and he's like, it's cool. And I was like, this is a cool guy. And he's like, no, this is not a cool guy.
Yeah, I thought that the moment that I saw the drug and I saw the hallucination, my mind said, how long has this been going on? How long has he been being poisoned and starting to slowly hallucinate? So,
that's fair.
Yeah. And also, I don't know about, for me, it didn't seem tropey just because maybe I haven't been exposed to the trope too often where, in anime or other entertainment. Yeah, but that's one.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it's not that big though. When I read it in the books, it was okay, but that was 20 years ago. So I don't know. I haven't seen it too much. So it was nice.
I'm having a tough time actually coming up with examples, but I know in some video games it's happened. I've seen it in some media. As far as movies and television,
I can tell it's tropey because I saw it coming. As soon as he didn't get the sword, I'm like, oh, he's gonna turn bitter and
And Jones.
I saw that coming too. Yeah. But I thought that played into the whole Joan of Arc story, so I was okay with it.
The next scene is Amra going to meet Lavali. Go see her dad, and Favreau and Rita teaming up to help her do it. And then that's when we get an entire fake backstory on this character.
Yes.
That she is the baby of an angel and a demon that got abducted by the demons, and the angel went to go find her. And he's like, hey, your mom's not over there. Your mom's totally over there.
Uh-huh.
That's weird.
Yep. Well, actually, I thought Lavali was completely genuine in this point because it was because we find out Helheim is the center capita for demonkind. So it was okay, that makes sense. She's not there. She's in this other place, and Lavali, since he's such a good guy and he's the dad, he's gonna know where mom is. That makes sense. I bought it hook, line, and sinker.
I did too, completely. But you know what we missed? We missed one thing that would have given it away. He took his pendant off and combined it. He would have immediately lost the memories. Because when she took her pendant off later, it got taken off.
And you didn't know they were memory inducers at the time, though.
Yeah. Well, but he shouldn't have been able to take them off, if unless he was the one that put it on. But I just realized that he took it off.
So Amara and forces Favreau to go with her. Again, he's trying to get out of it, but it just didn't feel like he was trying as hard as he used to be. But they get on a boat and they escape the city, and things go to hell real fast. Like the city starts freaking out.
Well, the demons are coming to come get Amara.
Right.
And now they're being led by Beelzebub, who's much more powerful because he's like
it's a huge invasion force.
Mm-hmm.
And the episode ends with the guard we had seen earlier talking with the characters sticks his head into the king's room and his head falls off. And this leads right into poor Joan of Arc getting arrested for murder because, hey, guess who did the investigation? Even though he didn't need to. And the king's like, yeah, I obviously know who did it. Arrest Joan of Arc. And Joan of Arc's like, I had done nothing but awesome for you. What are you talking about? He's like, nope, not hearing it. I know. My mom told me.
That's my dead mother.
Yep.
Lovely sends all the soldiers like, go get Amara. And then he goes up to Kaiser. He's like, go get Amara and help her. Just pretend like you're not. I need you to go find her first. This leads to a scene in a mystical forest where they're surrounded by Kaiser soldiers, and then Kaiser, Amara, and Favreau get teleported to another dimension.
I could not follow this. I understand the sequence of events, but I didn't understand them in their pieces. Like, how did they get sucked in? What did they trip on to get sucked in? Who activated it? Why is it there? Why are we talking about alternate dimensions? Like, none of this
Why
just
is
like
alternate dimensions a thing?
Right. But
Yep.
why is this even a thing in this anime? This was completely unneeded.
Yeah, I was when I was watching this, I thought, how many times in novels or other stories that I've seen or read have I seen characters just going on a journey and just kind of stepping into the right tomb or stepping into the right part of the forest and being swept into some other place or time or some vision or something. It felt very much akin to that. And it definitely was something that kind of stood out to me, and I didn't like it a lot, but I think that it was entirely due to the God Key. I think that thing is the Deus Ex Machina of allowing things like this to happen. So it could be...
So from a writer's perspective, do they do this just to show that space-time can be traveled?
That's what I think, yes. I think that they do it because they're trying to introduce something that can actually reach the God Key once it's joined with Bahamut.
Okay. Because I mean, you could have a green dragon just show up in a forest and no one would question it in this anime.
Yeah.
But then you wouldn't have the space-time breach.
Then you wouldn't have the space-time cutting.
Right. That was the only reason that Barb had traveled dimensions.
Right. So let's talk about that. They go to this other dimension. It looks just like where they were, and there's this barb sticking into a tree, and they all try to pull it.
Yeah, King Arthur
was like, "You guys are dumb. You shouldn't be pulling it." So Favreau is going to pull it, and it's going to come out, and of course it does. And
King Arthur.
It's actually in the paw. Also pulling the thorn from the paw.
That's the pulling the thorn from the lion's paw.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
And the lion ate the mouse. Yeah.
And then so we meet Geezer, this giant old green dragon, who's like, "Hey, you guys are the ones who are going to destroy the world. You should probably stay here."
Yeah, that was the first reasonable, rational thought that I had heard from somebody offering a solution. It was like, just stay in this space-time pocket.
It's been let's say one thing that was interesting about the anime is that no matter how everything the heroes did brought them closer to the game over screen,
Yes.
they brought them closer to losing. And so this is the first character to kind of point it out, like, yeah, you guys should really stop trying. This is dumb. What are you doing?
No, it's almost like you have reached the win game scenario right here. The game is over because you've won it. Just stay here. And you're like, no, there's got to be more. I got to meet my mom.
But of course, that doesn't work out because Favreau was like, no, screw Destiny. We're going to do this anyway. and I'm going to use this barb, which is Bahamut's. No,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did it.
His barb that fell through space-time into this other dimension and landed right in this guy's paw.
I think he bit him or something. I think it was placed here because of Bahamut running into him at some point.
He said it fell from the last.
He said
it fell
2,000 years ago when Satan and Zeus sealed him away. This barb fell off of him. It fell through space-time and landed on my paw.
Yep.
He literally tells that story.
Shoot me now. Oh my God. Okay. All right. That's pretty bad.
Speaking of bad, the CGI with the giant mecha was a little janky, but this dragon is janky.
Yes.
How dare you call it a mecha?
It's a janky mecha.
Air quotes. Sorry, air quotes.
It's a golem. Get your fantasy tropiness right.
Does it have a little person in its head? I don't think so.
That's right.
Slappity slap.
The best I don't care Troy face ever.
Yep.
I'm just trying to get us to the end of the anime, guys. Help me out, guys.
More philosophical debates.
When I don't think we find this out till later, but basically when they're leaving, the dragon's like, Favreau, you had to kill her.
That was good.
Yeah, you can reject fate all you want. By the way, rejecting fate is killing her. So good job. Good for you.
Right. Actually, I like this point because the whole cyclical thing. Like, fate is Bahamut kills everyone. Like, that's fate. Like, you guys, like you said at the beginning, we're on borrowed time. But if you want to cheat fate, you got to murder her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is no lose. If you're not going to walk away, the only other option is.
Well, this actually presents a very interesting situation because, according to Fate and Prophecy, he was supposed to stab Bahamut in the head because that's what's depicted in the statue and part of the prophecy and everything. But that would seem to indicate that Fate wants to stop the cycle here. So it would almost seem that Fate has done enough cycles.
That this isn't going to stop the cycle. He even says, "No, it's going to happen again. Don't worry about it."
Yeah. So okay. All right. So this is how much destruction Bahamut is allowed to cause this time.
Right. Okay. There is a scene where Rita finds Martinette's laboratory in the castle, and this is where she, like I said, she's the only one paying attention to the plot. She's starting like, wait, there's a villain around, and she gets in a fight with him, but is able to escape because he has corpses of animals on the wall. She uses fish.
That was cool. I loved that part.
Yeah,
that's good.
But also, I love that she was just like, "Oh, this guy's a two-timing sorcerer," and I know all of this stuff. It's funny because she's walking by jars, she's just naming off ingredients as if she's in a supermarket.
Foxglove, mandrake root. Yeah,
that was good. But she's Hardy Boying this entire thing while Kaiser and Favreau are marching towards Armageddon.
Yep.
So I had to give her that. She's the only competent character in this entire anime. The next episode has Joan of Arc being burned at the stake. People even try to save her, and the king he orders them. Must be co-conspirators. Has them shot on sight. And as she's burning, she starts hallucinating. And she had already been offered the same, or this elixir from Martinet, and rejected him, believing in the angels. And as she's dying, she sees the angels in the fire, like mocking her. And then the elixir appears before her, and she drinks it. And then she becomes a demon. And she corrupts the god sword. She summons a golem. Sorry.
A gargoyle, it looked like.
Yeah. And flies off to go murder some angels.
Literally.
Efficiently. It's amazing that she knew where Bahamut was sealed at and everything.
I think everyone knows, actually.
Do they?
It's a physical place that anyone can go visit.
It's in Helheim, isn't it?
It's near Helheim, but it's not in Helheim.
I would just think that the angels would have like the whole area quarantined and.
Well, I'm sure they do, but but with the increase of power, all available angels are on guard duty of the.
I guess so.
Of the barrier, and also like they didn't go through a portal or anything; they just traveled to get. I mean, even Bacchus did the same thing,
which is weird because all available angels seemed like they were there, but then the gods chose to descend. Right? So like they weren't actually helping.
No.
Until the
Wait, but the angels and the gods are the same, right?
Yeah, no. They're all called gods. Yeah, they're all called gods.
Because I was writing gods, and then they were calling them gods, and they started calling them angels, and I'm like,
yeah, you have gods and you have Akuma. That's the two different ones. And in the subtitle version, I didn't see a single reference that was consistently separating an individual as an angel.
Right.
They called angels gods.
Okay, so they were the same thing.
Basically, all characters start coming into this focal point of what's going on. Azazel gets run over by Bacchus and Rita, and they pick him up, and so they start getting. They kind of all start sharing information to put together. Again, there's this whole Martinet Lavalley mystery going on, and these characters. Rita is putting together the mystery. In Favreau and Kaiser's story, they reach Helmheim. It's where they were sent to ends up being this bad place they weren't supposed to go. and Beelzebub shows himself and Martinet as well. And he's like, yeah, this was all our plan. And that's when we learn, you're not an angel baby. You are the soul of an angel ripped out and
turned into a demon.
She sees Nicole. They bring Nicole out, and she hugs her because Favreau had told her, when you hug your mom will know who you are. Don't worry about the fact that you aged, 30 years and 5 years. Hug your mom and she'll know. So she's like, I'm going to hug her, even though it's like the angel's making a barrier around herself, trying to protect herself. And she goes up and hugs her, and it kills her.
See, now you speak of it so nonchalantly. This was a huge.
That's because I'm trying to get to the end of the podcast, not because I'm not trying to discredit the scene. If you would like to describe it, you do have a time limit, but go ahead.
Well, all I want to say is that because of the callback to how Favreau had said, your mother will know you when you hug her. You could see from the way that they drew Amira's face when she turns and she looks up at Favreau, she had put her complete trust in what he was saying. And even though the scene of Nicole the Angel, which is such a funny name for an angel to me, Nicole the Angel, who looks somewhat like her, and she's got curly hair and everything, and she's got these wings that are just frayed and the feathers are ripped out and everything. Her eyes are wide with shock. She's screaming. She's staring in almost this catatonic terror at Amira because she knows what Amira is. And so she's absolutely terrified of her, so she can't even move, and she's in this barrier. And at that point, Amira is like walking towards her crying, and she gets up there and manages to hug her. And only after she hugs her for some time does Nicole actually start to relax a little bit, and her eyes start to not be so wide open with terror and shock and fear.
Acceptance there, or recognition. Yeah, she even says later there's some recognition.
Exactly. And then Nicole dies. And it's like, what? This is so like tragic. What's happening to, just imagine this poor Nicole, the last thing she remembers, and now she's in this freaked moment staring at this abomination that's walking towards her crying. What is it going to do? And she's got Beelzebub and Martinet behind her.
Are you emotional about Nicole's response to the situation?
Both of them, yeah, because I saw them both.
Boat.
Huh?
I'm in Troy's boat.
This to me was actually a really, really good scene of characters that were dealing with huge emotional baggage, coming to terms with it.
It was one of the better scenes for sure. Look, I cried at dog commercials, so when I didn't get attached, I'm like, I feel like something was missing from out, but I can't name it was, and it could just be me. I will say this.
They were rushing at the end.
Yeah, this scene and Favreau's goodbye scene, I thought were the better scenes of the anime, but they didn't rock me emotionally. I didn't get emotional about it.
I did with this one. This was good.
And then Favreau's like, well, only one option. Hey, can I join you guys?
That was funny.
Which they allow, and he, like we had said before, he's doing a ploy, but they sniff it out immediately. Martinet uses it to turn him into a demon, and then he really is on their side. I kept waiting for him to no, I don't care enough to be turned into a demon, or I already have the tail. Like, this doesn't matter. But nope, he full on transforms.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Beelzebub gets the key, and Kaiser, in the first of what will happen many times, is thrown flying off the cliff.
Kaiser himself breaks the fourth wall in describing it.
Yeah, this is the third time I've done this today. And basically the final battle starts. Bacchus wagon shows up. Michael, the angel, shows up, being chased by Joan of Arc, who just murdered two of the other main head angels.
Yeah, archangels. Mm-hmm.
The archangels. And so he's fighting with her. And then she immediately turns and starts fighting Bacchus. Rita's there. She has brewed a cure for this demonization. She was in the laboratory and she had figured out that this is what this guy did.
She's reverse engineering what Martinet did.
Kaiser kind of tells Azazel, like, yeah, I know you don't care, but imagine you can't ever kill me if the world ends. And then he falls down again, and Azazel, that's the big scene where Azazel goes and saves him. And Azazel has beef with Beelzebub because they had fought earlier for just petty reasons. So he has a little bit of beef.
Does it go Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub as far as like a power hierarchy?
I believe so.
In this show, yeah.
Beelzebub had talked to Lucifer like he was swearing allegiance to him or was talking to him. But Lucifer never gets involved in this story.
Yeah,
I kept waiting for him to show up and be like, hey, this shouldn't happen. No, he was like, yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Favreau grabs the key and runs off with it. So Kaiser has to go fight him and shoots him in the chest with his own crossbow. That didn't make a ton of sense when we find out why. But I'll say that because Kaiser does the thing. I now realize that you are truly corrupted because the way you're fighting is not the way you've always fight me. So I know this isn't you. So he shoots him. But why did he need to give that speech if he was just curing him?
Oh, it's Kaiser. I think he was probably still hoping that he could draw out the good in Favreau even when he's a demon. And he's like, no, I can't. Damn it. I have to shoot him.
So basically here we get Lavallee showing up and his reveal, he pushes Kaiser off again, off the castle. And then, so we find out he's a bad guy. And Bahamut grabs the key and starts to merge with it because Amara comes out of it. And then light beams come down and grab her and put her into Bahamut. And Bahamut wakes up. And so we get our big final battle. Lavallee turns into Martinet, and Kaiser tries to fight him. Favreau shows up and starts fighting him instead. We are keyed in really early that it's a ploy. Favreau is whispering that we're not allowed to hear. But Favreau cuts off his hand and presents it to Martinet.
Favreau cuts off Kaiser's hand
and presents it to Martinet I beat him. And Martinet's like, oh, that's awesome. And then Kaiser activates the trap card. Sorry.
Yep. Nice. What? So because the rules of how to get a bounty are so
not important to the story, to be
left up to interpretation, why'd they have to chop off his hand to get close to him?
The bracelet has to be close, and
right. Why
just to get his guard down? I guess.
Well, guard down to what? They could have been fighting and then get close to him while they're fighting, and then he could just say the spell, and then hey, we got it, and I get my hand.
You are 100% right, but I still thought it was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing.
I agree with amazing.
Yeah,
I thought it was great. In every scene where we see someone use the card captor ability there. It's always after they've suffered some kind of major injury or shock. So I think that Lavali having already suffered like that injury, which should have been major, maybe technically dealt with it. And then also the shock of not expecting it. I wonder if he could have thrown up some kind of dark magic to stop the effects, because Bacchus is a god and he's a demon. Martinet has made himself a demon by consuming the same stuff that he gives everybody else.
Right.
So,
and we don't know how it works. Like,
right.
It could have absolutely had to happen that way. They never explain it.
Yeah, they never.
If you had played the card game, you would understand.
Exactly.
That's my only complaint. I'm not saying that there could be an explanation. I'm just saying that they didn't give a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't give it to you. That's my only complaint. Anyways, move on.
I do want to point out that so they're getting ready to go get Amara from Bahamut, and by that they mean go kill her. Even though Kaiser's like, no, we'll save her. No, we're not.
I can't believe he let Kaiser go with him. I was actually really surprised at that. Like, was he going to do it one-handed?
Yeah. And I thought Kaiser would like protest what they were doing, but at no point he's like, I'm going to save her. Then no point made an attempt to do that. So whatever.
I think he realized there was no way to do it.
Like, it needs to be noted here. The demons are way cooler than the angels. The angels all look like they're dressed in halter tops and togas, and there's like a demon with a guitar, and I'm like, wow, that's way cool.
There's also a demon with little doggy teddy bear things for hands.
Yeah. I point that out because the angels and the demons now start working together to suppress Bahamut as much as possible, because he's literally destroying cities across the map, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you're even in the world, you're feeling this destruction. And they fly in on the giant duck, because of course, that's a really dumb way to end this, by the way.
I loved it. It was so out of left field.
And we went with the flying duck, but whatever.
It was so out of left field. It was great.
And they had established he could fly. I get that, but it was like, really, the duck? That's the cool ending we're going for? Sure.
It was.
Doesn't matter.
Why not?
But basically, they get on top of his head. He flings him around a little bit, but they got ropes. They're fine. They get to the God Key seal. Yeah. Favreau plunges his barb sword. He turned the barb into a sword, plunges it into the head, fulfills the Holy Night prophecy. Everyone's like, oh, that's the Holy Night the whole time.
I got to stop you for just a sec. When you say plunge, you mean by like 4 inches, then sure, he plunged into the head.
Just like how far it was in the Green Dragon's foot, which was quite effective.
Again, we're dealing with space-time, guys. Space-time. He was really cutting his heart because he was cutting through space-time.
Previously established data.
So, Bahamut is not the same as Green Geezer Dragon, by the way.
I want to point out he is not attacking Bahamut. He is attacking Amara.
Specifically on an emblem, the same emblem that was on her chest, which happens to be on the top of Bahamut's
He's
head.
attacking. He's destroying the God Key.
Okay, but why would that hurt Bahamut when he was fine without it?
Because
the God Key probably is the only thing that's letting him manifest the levels of energy right now. There's probably still a restraining there.
They said he needed God, God and Satan in him to manifest now because of what they did to him.
Oh, so he cannot live without the God Key?
It goes back to being a statue.
Since Satan and Zeus hit him with those magic beams.
But they made it appear that he would break out on his own without her, though, earlier in the anime.
They made it appear, but it never happened. So we're dealing with the perception of the people who are trying to hold the barrier.
And the perception of the angels.
He was not going to break out, but his destructive energy was. So, like, he was still causing issues, but himself was not about to start walking around.
That's a good point.
Okay, you missed a step, though, Troy. Because,
always do.
So Beelzebub thought, because he put like his
this was so good.
He put his own little thing in the God Key. He was like, I control Bahamut now.
And then you see this slow turn of Bahamut as Bahamut's like charging a beam and he's looking away from the camera, and then Bahamut's head just turns and you know where it's pointing.
Seriously, it's so predictable, but if it hadn't happened, I would have been so upset because it's so satisfying. Satisfying. He literally cries out, I control him. And then boom, he's dead.
Yep.
Doesn't officially die there, but it blows him in half. He's good as dead. Zazel finishes him off later. After Favreau stabs him, Amara, he falls in front of Bahamut's eye. makes a rude comment.
And Jurassic Park moment.
Amuro comes out of the eye, and this is where he declares, like, I would have done anything to help you. I felt that way from the very beginning. No, you didn't. You sold her. But he does the whole, I'm going to take you to a better place. I promise you I'd take you somewhere good. I'm going to take you somewhere really good. And then she kisses him, and then she disappears, and Bahamut explodes.
So every single time that he's ever been trying to convince you of something, he has always said, look into my eyes, look into my eyes. And he tries so hard to hold the expression as being this serious, intense, determined person. And without fail, it always cracks. And you see that his face, it's the picture I chose for the profile pic there for my name, because that is the real him. He cannot hide it. And it's all like, I don't know exactly how to express it. It's almost like... It's what happens when you're trying to look at someone in a staring contest and see which one of you is going to crack a smile first, kind of thing.
I'll give it this, story-wise, it is a good lighthearted moment for what was a lighthearted moment to be brought back into a deeply emotional moment. That is a good. What's it called? Were you
callback?
Callback, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That had a good payoff.
And I think that callback actually meant the same thing that it meant all those other times, which was, I'm lying again. I really wasn't trying to save you. And I really wouldn't be able to take you to all these other places, or whatever he was saying and it was only for a split second, because they show it to you for like this moment, whereas they usually show it to you for a long time. You get like a full second and a half, 2 seconds of his face being contorted. This time you have like a half a second before she kisses him. So it's like telling us, the audience, yes, he's still the same guy. Yes, he was just lying, but it doesn't matter at this point. That's what I got from it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Now here's the biggest fault in this anime. It just ends.
Yeah.
Not
much else happens. You're right.
Yeah. Kaiser's in the army. Favreau rides off into the sunset. Kaiser chases after him. Why? I thought you were in the army. Why are you chasing
6 months
him?
later. Yeah, 6 months later.
Yeah, and technically they're both still knights too.
Right. Yeah. And Favreau makes the comment of, "Don't worry, Bahamut will be back."
Yeah, and Favreau has the armband. I mean, there is a little bit of character development, because I mean, now he's saying things from his father that he was just kind of
he's accepted that fate is a wind that blows you around, and
he's got a goatee. He's obviously changed.
Yeah, again, a lot of animes do this where they save so much for the final. They save the final battle, they save the explanation, and all those things get rushed instead of just doing one more episode and separate them out. Give me the story explanation and then give me the final battle, or switch it. I don't care. Give each one the time they deserve. And I mean, you knew starting episode 12, like, man, we have to wrap up the villain, we have to wrap up Bahamut, we have to wrap up what happens to Amura. And an epilogue all in an episode, this is not going to fit, and it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. With that, we have reached the end of the story as far as we know it, because we haven't watched Virgin Soul. So we are going to give our final reviews. Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I really enjoyed this anime. It is one of my top animes personally, as something that I've sat down and enjoyed and was surprised. It hits you again and again and again with things that you are led down a path with a trope or with a story, and then it just goes a completely different direction, and it hits you multiple times with quite a few of the main story points. I think the characters are awesome, and I think that the ending is a big setup for their CCG, where they're saying, hey, all these things are in play. Now there's all kinds of battles and chaos following Bahamut's big breakdown. So have all these characters and cards and see what all the numbers are. And even though that isn't something that can kind of justify any of the stuff that screws up in it, I can't help but keep it in mind, knowing that that's its source. It is not without fault. It has quite a few faults. There's entire scenes that I cannot explain exactly what was behind the character's actions, and that is a big issue. And And I mean, cinematic stuff, like as far as CG, doesn't really bother me too much. It's not pleasant, but it doesn't bother me too much. I actually really enjoyed the tropey nature of it because the tropes were pulled off so well. So I would give it a 4 out of 5.
If I could, I would do a 3.5, but I'm going to give it a 3. It was fun, definitely worth a watch. Cinematics are beautiful. Some of the character development was not great, but the character interactions were top notch. Like we said before, super tropey, but tropes done extremely well. Many plot holes, and even though the main story points were nicely wrapped up and given decent closure, the characters themselves just didn't get the ending I felt they deserved. All of them. So, anyways, yeah, 3 for me.
3 for me as well. To kind of build on what Jeremy had said, I think as far as interpreting an anime from a CCG app, phone game, good job. I mean, wow, that's impressive. However, from just an anime point of view, those CCG aspects, what tied it to that game is a lot of the things that held it back. I think that's where a lot of the genericness came from. Tons of cliches, but they pulled them off well. So, I mean, it's hard to judge it harshly. I enjoyed it. I didn't dislike watching it. Those tropes are fun to see, and they were done well. So, but 3 for me. With that, we are finished, but we need to hear your reviews, your thoughts, your comments. Has anyone ever played this game? We would love to hear what came from the game. That would be really cool if anyone has had any experience with that. You can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast or our email, the Anime Baka Club at gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast, and it will get back to us, and we will definitely respond to you because we would love to continue this conversation. Now, for what we're watching next time, okay, this is on me, guys, and don't everyone lynch me at once. Okay, so I had a hard time picking, so I went ahead and said, look, we're going to watch the first season. It's the first 13 episodes of Boruto, Naruto Next Generations. The only reason I'm picking this is because we have a very wide variety of experience with Naruto. I've watched a lot. I've watched all the regular Naruto and a lot of Shippuden. And these guys haven't watched any, so Jason's going to watch it with some lore filler with his kids and me helping, and Jeremy's going to watch it with no lore filler, and we're going to see how does this anime stand on its own, how does it work as a continuation, and can it even see the bar set by My Hero Academia?
Yeah. Now I should also mention that in previous minisodes, if you haven't listened to those, I've actually mentioned that I would have liked to have seen Naruto. So I'm not against the series, whatever that I may have said in the past to make fun of Naruto. So This is a blank slate here.
Yeah, I have watched some of it, and I haven't been as big as a fan. I'm hoping with a more critical eye, it'll have changed. So, this might be one you just want to follow along with us, whatever you would decide to do. But I think this will be an interesting topic, if nothing else. So I hope you can join us. And I believe that's it for us, guys.
All righty. Well, thanks for listening.
Have a wonderful day.
Sayonara.